Welcome to today's class. Today we'll be talking about the types of business activities. People normally carry out different activities. So basically what normally happens, people can get involved in various activities that can bring them income in the long run or in the short run. So what is a business activity? A business activity is the provision of goods and services with the aim of earning a profit. So when you get involved with yourself, when you involve yourself in some business activity with the focus of getting profit at the end of the day, then therefore it means you are involving yourself in a particular business activity. So we have various business activity and it can be grouped into 7 categories. The first category is called extraction activity. Extraction activity involves obtaining goods from their natural settings, e.g. mining, e.g. farming, lumbering, fishing, quarrying, etc. So when you get materials in their natural setting, therefore, that is called extraction. For example, gold. Gold is normally extracted from the ground, same as the things that we plant. For example, cassava, they are normally extracted from the ground. The other type of business activity that you must know is called processing. Processing is the process of conversion of raw materials into more useful products without combining it with other goods. For example, when we talk about milling and grinding flour, so when you have maize for example, you are grinding the maize so that you get maize flour. Or when you are having, let's say, wheat flour. When you grind the wheat, then the end product is called the wheat flour. That process, therefore, of conversion of the raw materials into a final good is what we are calling processing. The other activity is called manufacturing. Manufacturing basically involves combining different raw materials to come up with one finished product or one final product. These activities may include bread baking, making a table, etc. So when you're making bread, there are very many components that you must bring on board. For example, you must bring sugar, you must bring wheat flour, you must bring oil, you must bring salt, and other components like yeast. So when you put these components together and you mix them, and the end product that is baked becomes bread. So that is what you are calling manufacturing. The other thing or the other activity is construction. Construction basically happens when you are coming up with things like buildings, for example, or railways, or you are coming up with roads. That activity is what we are referring to as construction activity. The other activity that is very common is called the distribution of goods. Distribution basically involves the movement of goods from the manufacturer up to the end customer. So that activity of moving goods from one place to another or services is what we are referring to as distribution of goods. The other important activity is called trade. Trade is another category that involves buying goods and selling those goods at a profit. So what you buy goods at a lower price and you add some margin, then you get profits at the end of the day. That is what we are referring to as trade. And the people who do that activity are called traders. So when you involve yourself in such activity, you automatically become a trader. The other thing or activity is called the provision of services. And provision of services, as you all know, service we said is an intangible activity. An activity that you can only feel. It's an act of doing something. And this act is felt by the customer. For example, when you go into a barber shop to clear your head, that is called a service. And the person who is doing the service is the barber who must do the service for you. Having known that, therefore, the next thing that we are going to talk about is the business environment. So business environment is anything that is around the business and it can affect the business either directly or indirectly. Any business operates in an environment, and this environment can either be an internal environment or it can also be external environment. So we are going to start with the first one. We are going to start with the first one, that is the internal business environment. Internal business environment is an environment that is within the business itself. For example, anything that is within the business premises is what we are referring to as the internal environment. And what you must note is that internal environment can be controlled by the business. The business has control over the internal environment. And one of the internal environments that you must know is called objectives of the business. What is your objective as a business? What do you want to achieve at the end of the day? So you must always know your goals. Why are you in business? Why are you in business? So basically, one of the objectives of a business is to get profits. Some people enter into business to be self-independent or their own boss. Some enter into business to ensure that they utilize the free time that they have. The other internal environment is the management policy and style. Different organizations have different policies and styles of management. So depending on the industry that you are in, you can decide to come up with your own policy that will guide the employees within the organization so that those employees will follow that policy to better their services and to become better people, not only internally but also externally when they interact with their customers. The other important objective can be the business structure. A structure is a chain of command, how work within a particular organization is arranged, how the responsibilities are shared within an organization. So different organizations have different structures, and these structures will enable people to know their levels in the organization. So basically, in an organization, we have three major levels. We have the management level, we have the middle level managers, and we have the operational managers. So it's always important to come up with a structure that will fit your organization. The pattern of how responsibilities are shared within the organization is very important. The other thing that you must know is the business resources. Every business has resources. We have three major resources that exist in any business. And the first resource is called the human resource. And human resources are the people who work in a particular organization, the employees of that organization. They can either be permanent employees or temporary employees, depending on the structure or the organization of that company. The other type of resources are the physical resources. Physical resources are resources that you can see. They are tangible resources. For example, computers are tangible resources. The table that you see in various organizations, the television, the computers, all those are referred to as physical resources, things that you can see and you can touch. And those things make an impact in any organization. The other important organization is the financial resource. Financial resource is very key. That is the money that you need to start and run a business, that you need to operate a business. And the other important uh, resource is technology. Technology. Important internal environment is research and development. Some big companies like Safaricom have invested in research because they want to know what the customers and how the customers react to their products. So basically, research and development is very key in any organization that wants to be strategic. So development is all about developing your staffs so that your staffs become better and better by ensuring they get training, relevant training that is up to date. So when you train your employees and you want them to be good people in their service and in their delivery, therefore you must invest in development. The other important internal environment is called business culture. Culture is a way of life, how employees behave when they are in the organization, how they carry out themselves. For example, when you go to a company like the Kenya breweries, there is a particular behavior that they have. And this behavior is what signifies them in the market, is what makes them to become better when you compare them with their competitors. So it's always important to embrace the culture of a particular organization, their beliefs, what do they believe in, their attitudes, their values. So it's always good to have a culture that is positive. The other important internal environment are the owners of a business. Owners are basically the shareholders, the people who have an interest in your business, the people who have invested money in your business. They can either be ordinary shareholders or the preferred shareholders. So it's always important to consider the shareholders or the owners when making decisions about the business, when making crucial decisions about the business. The other important thing that I must talk about today are the external environment. External environment is any environment that is outside the business and affects the business and how the business is run. External environment can also be referred to as the uncontrollables or the macro environment. So macro environment is an environment that the business has no control over. This environment can either be political environment, it can either be economical environment, it can either be ecological environment, it can either be political, legal, or technological environment. So basically, when companies are interacting with this environment, they must ensure they adapt to the best interest of the organization. For example, technology, when it changes, the organization can only adapt the new technology. Failure to do that at the end of the day might lead to the organization going down. Thank you for listening.